is being conducted for the benefit of MSME to enhance their exports and also to join in the mainstream of world trade, which is changing very fast every day. As we all know that India is having a golden opportunity to join the mainstream of exports and imports in the world trade. Miss Mallika Gope, Director, NABL, Mr. Ram Prasad R, Joint Director, NABL, my special welcome to you for this session. Leaders from the industry, my colleagues from EPC India, and my dear friends. Once again, good afternoon to you all and a hearty welcome to this very important session on NABL, accreditation and its benefits to the engineering sector. As the world is witnessing reduced tariffs to facilitate free trade, the standardization of products are gaining more and more significance as it becomes necessary to ensure environmental protection, safety, national security, and to consumer information within the free trade environment. Due to this, India's manufacturing, standardization, and accreditation ecosystem encourages manufacturers and exporters to align themselves with international norms, enabling manufacturers to compete in the global markets more effectively and more sustainably. The Indian engineering sector is the second highest foreign exchange earner, and the year 21-22 witnessed record high of engineering exports touching 112 United States billion. Today, more and more Indian manufacturing companies are investing in standards and accreditation. The number of plants in India with ISO 9000 and ISO 14000 accreditation increased from a negligible figures in the early 90s to many thousands today. As more and more companies look for internationalizing their products and services, the role of Indian standards and accreditation in conformance to the global counterparts would increase manifold. Over the years, EPC India has been actively advocating adoption of standards and certifications among the engineering MSMEs in order to enhance their exports. There are two technology centers which are started by EPC few years back. One is in Kolkata and another in Bangalore. They are facilitating and handholding to its members to acquire certification from leading testing labs across India in addition to its regular technology upgradation services. Further, I am also happy to inform you that EPC India has also set up a standardization cell in collaboration with Bureau of Indian Standards to facilitate industry engagements in the development and adoption of engineering standards by the authorities, which will facilitate engineering competitiveness in the markets globally. I am happy that today EPC India is organizing this webinar in association with the National Accreditation Board for Testing and Calibration Laboratories, NABL shortly, provides accreditation for testing and calibration laboratories for the Indian government, industry, associations, and private sector. Particularly, it's of great help to our MSME sector. This is the second session. The first one was held on 14 September 2022. I am extremely thankful to Ms. Mallika Gope, Director NABL, and Mr. Ram Prasad, Joint Director NABL, to have spared their valuable time to address this session and enlighten the engineering fraternity about the various benefits of accreditation to the engineering sector. I'm also happy that the today's session would also highlight a brief presentation about the MAI scheme, reimbursement of testing and certification charges towards statutory compliance. I once again thank you all participants who have joined today, and I look forward to a very useful and productive session. Thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, Chairman sir, for setting the right tone and direction for the session today. May we now request our first speaker, Madam Mallika Gope, Director NABL, to kindly deliver her address. Over to you, Madam. Thank you.
Very good afternoon to all of you. I would be sharing the presentation straight away. And it is indeed a great opportunity to again come back and tell about NABL accreditation in front of the industry and EPC members in particular. So is my presentation visible? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you please make it full screen?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Yes, ma'am, it's better, ma'am.
So in this session, I would be telling you about what NABL is and what are the benefits of NABL accreditation. So slide is not moving. Okay, but then it is not going up and down. The slides are not moving. It will take just a moment. Kindly bear. Okay. So what is NABL? NABL is National Accreditation Board for Testing and Calibration Laboratories. And by accreditation, the term accreditation indicates to the competence of the laboratory to deliver reliable results. So in this session, we would be first telling you about the history of NABL. In 1973, the Planning Commission suggested the Department of Science and Technology to look into different aspects of testing facilities. There were various laboratories under the government, under the private sectors, but then a quality standard or management system which was to be implemented in the laboratories, that was to be implemented. So in 1982, Department of Science and Technology set up the NCTCF, which stands for National Coordination of Testing and Calibration Facilities, for providing accreditation services to testing and calibration laboratories. In 1993, this program was named as NABL and registered as an autonomous body under the Department of Science and Technology as a society. In 2016, Based on a cabinet decision in 1996, NABL was merged with Quality Council of India as one of its constituent boards. So at present, NABL is a constituent board of Quality Council of India, which is an autonomous body under the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, that is DPIIT, under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And the objective of establishing NABL is to provide the government, industry associations, industries in general, and now the medical laboratories also, with a scheme for third-party assessment of quality and technical competence of testing and calibration laboratories. We test products that is to be tested in a competent laboratory. Now, who decides the competence? NABL decides the competence. NABL offers accreditation services in a non-discriminatory manner. The laboratory could be a small laboratory, could be a very large laboratory, could be part of a particular association, could be from the government. The competence criteria is same for one and all. And being a quality organization, the management system of NABL is established in accordance with ISO IC 17011, which is the conformity assessment requirements for accreditation bodies accrediting conformity assessment bodies. And we offer 5 programs. For testing laboratories and calibration laboratories, the accreditation is granted as per the international standard ISO IEC 17025, that is general requirements for competence of testing and calibration laboratories. Likewise, for medical laboratories, there is ISO 15189. There are 2 other categories, proficiency testing provider and reference material producer. So they are accredited as per 2 other standards. Now, what is accreditation? Accreditation is the third-party attestation related to a conformity assessment body conveying formal demonstration of its competence, impartiality, and consistent operation. These 3 things are ascertained in performing specific conformity assessment activities like testing or calibration. So NABL, being a third-party organization, is an independent body, and competence, that means ability to apply knowledge and skills to achieve the intended result, that is the competence of the laboratory which we are assessing. Organization is the testing laboratory or calibration laboratory, and specific task, you can say, for example, tensile testing, ultrasonic testing, then water testing, like that. So we offer the testing services under various categories based on the nature of the test being performed on those products. For example, biological, there are Ayush products, then food and water, pharmaceuticals, molecular analysis, then veterinary testing. All these come under the biological. Then chemical testing, food, water, building material, then textile, fertilizer, petroleum, metals. Electrical, there can be products like cables, then energy meter, domestic appliances. Then electronics, we have various electronic products, power supplies and stabilizers, mobile phones. Mechanical testing of metals, building materials, then textiles, then automobile components, rubber components, non-destructive testing in building material and mechanical products. Similarly, other groups of testing are fluid flow, forensic, diagnostic radiology, QA, photometry for lamps, radiology, software and IT. And these are the disciplines in calibration, electrotechnical calibration, like if you manufacture a multimeter or if you manufacture an energy meter, then you can get it calibrated from NABL accredited laboratory, and the certificate issued by that laboratory is accepted worldwide. Fluid flow, mechanical, like you have vernier calipers, you have force proving instruments, then you have torque measuring instruments. So all this come under mechanical calibration. Then optical equipment, radiological, thermal equipment like you have the temperature indicators, then you have the furnace, then medical equipment. So all these are covered under calibration. Similarly, for medical, we have various disciplines. And similarly, for proficiency testing provider, like an independent organization which sends a blind samples to various laboratories, and the results are then analyzed whether the laboratory is competent or not. So all these things are done by proficiency testing providers, and reference material producers are accredited by NABL, and the use of reference material is to ensure the validity of the results, the traceability to the SI units or the reference standards. So now we come to the global structure of conformity assessment. You can see ILAC, that is International Laboratory Accreditation Corporation. That is the mutual recognition arrangement of all the countries around the world, and NABL from India is the mutual recognition arrangement signatory. So we are placed in the Asia Pacific Accreditation Cooperation region, for which again NABL is the signatory. So what does this international recognition signify for the exporters? That means whenever you are getting a product or whatever you are manufacturing is tested in NABL accredited laboratory, the test report issued by that laboratory bears an NABL symbol. So that symbol will make the test report acceptable in any country around the world which are signatories to the mutual recognition arrangement. So tested once, accepted everywhere. That is the motto with which the international arrangement was conceptualized, and this is being widely used in export, and the benefit is accruing to the exporters so that they save time, valuable time, and cost of testing again in another country. So we have been MRA signatories since the year 2000, and we have been evaluated every 4 years for the mutual recognition arrangement. So what are the benefits? International recognition. So that product which you are getting tested from NABL accredited laboratory, that has global recognition, acceptance, and hence it opens your access to the global market. Then time and money efficient, we have already discussed. Then it enhances customer satisfaction because it has been tested in a competent laboratory, and you are assured about the robust quality management system. Suppose you are slightly concerned about one of the parameters which is reported in the test report, you can go back to the laboratory and raise a query, and they will have the entire trail of the test report or test result which has been mentioned in the report, so that you know that whether there is any fault in the entering of the data, or actually the product is not meeting that particular requirement. So the two-way cross-check can be done. Similarly, continuous improvement, cost reduction, and better operational control of activities, that are the benefits of accreditation. Now, these are few regulators and government departments which have either empaneled NABL accredited laboratories, or which use NABL or which accept NABL accredited laboratory test report. So one of them is Ministry of Jal Shakti, which has mandated that all its laboratories should obtain NABL accreditation. Then Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, EPIDA, and EIC. They are doing integrated assessment along with NABL. So there is a one application which is received at NABL, and for all the regulatory bodies which the laboratory applies, the accreditation is granted and the regulator approval is also granted in the same decision. So this is a joint activity, and if there are food sector, food processing sector participants here, they can get their product tested in the integrated assessment laboratories. The details we will be showing in the next presentation. Similarly, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. All of you must be aware about the coronavirus pandemic, in which the test report from NABL accredited laboratory was mandated. Then Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bureau of Indian Standards, the Laboratory Recognition Scheme, prerequisites, the NABL accreditation, then Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Telecommunication Engineering Centers, they empanel laboratories for their market surveillance as well as for the testing of the products before registering. Then Ministry of Defense, Railways, Government e-Marketplace, they have also mandated that NABL accredited laboratory test report has to be accompanied whenever they are any organization is putting up the tender or product is uploaded on the GEM portal for selling. So this was about the brief description about NABL. So these are our contact details. We have our office at Gurugram in sector 44 and our email ID is nabl-india.org, and you can always write to us at info@nabl.qcin.org. So this was from my side. Now in the next session, we would be sharing about the how to search for NABL accredited laboratories. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for giving such a valuable presentation. Maybe now request our next speaker, Mr. Ram Prasad. He's a Joint Director, NABL. Sir, we invite you to give your address. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And just I'm sharing my presentation. Very good afternoon to all. So my talk will be on the accreditation process of NABL. The accreditation process starts from, this is the process of accreditation. This flow starts from the application submitted by the lab and issuing of accreditation certificate by NABL. So the lab which is wishing to get accreditation, they can submit application to NABL through online portal. So I will, at the end of the presentation, I will show how they can apply for accreditation through online portal. And once the application is received, then NABL will send the acknowledgement to the laboratory. In that, the detail will be there for like lab ID, the unique ID will be allocated to the lab. Along with the lab ID, there will be a separate team who will be dealing with the accreditation process of the particular lab. Will be communicated to the laboratory through the acknowledgement. And once it is received and it is acknowledged, the application will be scrutinized by NABL to check for the completeness of application. So if there is anything is missing, anything is not available in the application, so NABL will communicate to the lab for submitting the appropriate document. So while submitting the application, so lab need to submit the quality manual also. The quality manual which is addressing all the requirements of ISO IEC 17025. And lab need to submit their legal identity, the copy of legal identity along with the application form. So these documents, application form and this quality manual will be sent to the lead assessor. Next step is for document review, and lead assessor will verify the application and the quality manual in accordance with the standard ISO IEC 17025, which is the accreditation standard of the testing and calibration laboratories. So during scrutiny of application and document review, if there is any discrepancy observed in the application or quality manual, then NAB will communicate those discrepancy to the laboratory. So lab can submit the corrective action within 10 days. So for taking the corrective action, NAB will give 7 days for the lab. But during that period, so lab can correct the quality manual or application and can submit that revised one to NABL. And if lab has submitted a satisfactory corrective action, or there is no discrepancy observed during the document review, and we'll go to the next process. Next step, it is in pre-assessment. So pre-assessment is presently it is optional for testing calibration in medical laboratory, and the objective of pre-assessment is to check the readiness of the lab for the final assessment. So if lab is very much confident on the system they have implemented, they can directly opt for the final assessment by waiving off the pre-assessment. So during pre-assessment, there will be one lead assessor will be visiting the laboratory. So they will check the lab's implementation of system and their facility and other infrastructures in the preliminarily. And if there is any non-conformance observed during the pre-assessment, 30 days, sorry, it is 15 days time will be given for the pre-assessment non-conformities, and lab can submit the NC's corrective action within 15 days time. And after submission of satisfactory corrective action, or there is no non-conformity observed during the pre-assessment, the next assessment, next step will be the final assessment. So during final assessment, there will be one lead assessor. So preferably who has visited the lab during the pre-assessment if it is happened, and number of technical assessor. So number of technical assessors depends upon the scope of the laboratory. For example, lab is applying for only mechanical testing of metal components, and there will be one technical assessor for mechanical metal and one lead assessor. And lab is applying for mechanical metal and chemical metal also. Then there will be a number of assessor will vary. One technical assessor for chemical metal testing and one assessor for mechanical metal testing. This depends upon the scope and number of parameter in the scope. And during the final assessment, the competency of the laboratory will be verified, and the system implemented in accordance with ISO IEC 17025 standard will be verified by the lead assessor. And during the assessment, the lab has to demonstrate their competency. That means they have to perform the testing in front of technical assessor to demonstrate their competency for each test in their applied in the scope. So generally, this final assessment will happen for 2 days to assess the lab's competency. So during the final assessment, if there is any non-conformities observed, then the 30 days time will be given for the laboratory. Within this 30 days time, if lab has taken the corrective action satisfactorily, or there is no non-conformities observed during the final assessment, we'll go to the next step or scrutiny of assessment report. So during scrutiny, all the assessment report, entire report, and whatever the corrective action submitted by the laboratory will be reviewed by NABL. Once it is found satisfactory by NABL on the corrective action taken by the laboratory, then these assessment report along with the corrective action will be reviewed in front of accreditation committee. The accreditation committee is consists of independent external members who are the experts in the accreditation or testing field. They will independently review all assessment report and the corrective action taken by the laboratory, and the accreditation committee will recommend for accreditation or otherwise based on the assessment report and outcome of the assessment to the competent authority of NABL. So once accreditation committee recommends, then the competent authority will approve for the accreditation decision. So once it is approved, then accreditation is granted to the lab, and accordingly certificate will be issued. So during this process, there will be a communication between NABL and the lab, and the assessor and lab, and between assessor and NABL. So communication will be there between all these parties to clarify on wherever it is required. And once it is approved, the certificate will be issued. The certificate will be valid for 2 years. So generally, the lab's accreditation is valid for 2 years. In the accreditation certificate, there will be the name of the lab, the location of the lab, and for which field it is testing or calibration which they have accredited will be mentioned there. And a scope along with the certificate, the scope will be there. Just I am showing the certificate and the scope. This is the certificate format. It will contain name and which field and address of the lab also. So the accreditation is specific to the name and the location. If lab is having multiple location in different cities, they can apply separately for each locations. If lab is having a multiple location in the same city within the close proximity, the lab can apply for one accreditation with the 2 location. There is location 1 and location 2. Multiple location, they can apply for one application also presently. And this will contain the certificate number which starts with TC for testing laboratory with the 4 or 5 digit number. And for calibration laboratory, it will be CC and a 5-digit number. And this will also contain the validity period of 2 years. So this is the format of scope of accreditation. So this will also contains the certificate number, laboratory name, and the validity period, and which are all parameter the lab is accredited for. For example, this is the discipline under which discipline it is mentioned as chemical metals and alloy. and the product, which product they are having accreditation, and the test and test method. So this is the scope of accreditation. So lab can claim enable accreditation in the test report as per the test mentioned in the scope of accreditation. So after this accreditation process, after issuing a certificate, there will be validity period of 2 years. So after 1 year of gaining accreditation, there will be an on-site surveillance to check the continued compliance of the laboratory within the accreditation cycle period. So during the on-site surveillance, the process explained it is the same as per the final assessment. The same way the application will be initiated by NABL, and assessment will be planned as per the mutual agreed date between the lab and NABL, and the assessment will be happen, and same the flow start from since the final assessment to till decision is taken. If during surveillance the lab is found competent, then the decision will be communicated as continuation of accreditation, and at the end of second year there will be renewal. So for renewal of accreditation, we ask lab to apply 6 months before the expiry of accreditation. For example, the accreditation cycle is October 2022 to October 2024. That is 2 year cycle. And in October 2023, there will be, and before October 23, there will be an on-site surveillance for the lab. And now the expiry date is October 2024. So we ask lab to apply to 6 months before. That is by April, lab needs to submit application for renewal of accreditation. So the same process will be followed, except this application scrutiny and pre-assessment will not be there. The document review and pre-assessment will not be there. Other steps will remain same for renewal process also. So the reason for we are asking lab to apply 6 months before is, so this is the process. It will take time for completion of these process, and lab also may require time to submitting corrective actions and booking the flight tickets of assessors and room, everything, travels and all. So considering these factor, we ask lab to apply well in advance so that they will get accreditation renewed before the expiry date. So during first cycle of accreditation, there will be on-site surveillance. So during subsequent years, so once accreditation is renewed in 2024, the next accreditation cycle will be 2024 to 2026, and subsequently 2026 to 28. So during that period, there will be on-site surveillance will be there. For example, next renewed on 2024 to 2026. During 2025, there will be desktop surveillance. So NABL will take certain documents from laboratory and it will be scrutinized at NABL. So if it is found satisfactory, then continuation of accreditation will be communicated to the lab. So this is the brief about the NABL accreditation process. So now I will show you how the lab can apply for NABL accreditation through NABL portal. So this is NABL website. The NABL website is enable-india.org. So this is Enable website. The website address is enable-india.org. So on the home page of the website, you can find one tab in the middle of the page, that is Apply Now for Enable Accreditation. So by clicking this, so this will redirect to Enable web portal. So there in the top right corner, you can find Register or Login. So for the new user, can register themselves during the first time submission of application. So while registration, they need to enter the basic details, like lab name. So name of the CAB is conformity assessment body. That is testing laboratory is one of the conformity assessment body. So lab can choose which type of conformity assessment body. If it is testing, they can choose testing, and fill rest of the detail, the basic detail of the lab. So once this is submitted, so the contact person of the lab will receive OTP in email and the mobile. And once that is entered, their account will be registered, and they will be provided the username of this enable portal. So once that is received, then lab can start filling the application. And in the right side of the web page, the portal page, you can find a help manual. So there it is there for testing calibration. Each field there is given for help manual for filling the application. By clicking this, you can view how to fill the application in each stage. So this is explained by stage, starting from the lab details, like registration and regarding OTP and how to log in. It is given step by step in each stage, lab details, discipline, scope. Each detail is explained here. So lab can refer this manual before filling the application. So it will be easy for filling the application also. So once application is submitted, so as the process I told like previously, it will be followed. And so now I will show you the lab search. If you want to test your product in Enable Accredited Laboratory, I will show you how to search the laboratories from Enable website. So in the Enable website, you can find that the tab in the top, like laboratory search. We click Accredited Laboratories. So to redirect to a new page, a form will be open. So there you can fill the details and we can get the lab name. So while searching the lab, so it can be searched in different means, like by using the lab name or certificate number of the lab or lab ID provided by NABL. Or if you don't know the lab name, you can search through what test method you are looking for or what product you are looking for, or what type of test. Just I am showing one example. So I am searching the lab by using only testing of certain products. For example, assume I don't know which lab test my product. First select the country, and if you can select the zone also. If you are north, south, you can selecting the north zone. And there is a filter also available. Selecting search state wise also, you can filter for search. And selecting the field, selecting for testing. And again, discipline will be available. According to your product, you can choose the discipline. I am choosing for mechanical testing. And there's a group. There's a different group: automobile, building material, metals, leather, many things will be there. Just I am choosing for mechanical properties of metals. And I am clicking the search button at the bottom of the page. So the result will be displayed at the bottom. So it is showing total 95 records found. So these are the lab details which are accredited for mechanical properties of metal under mechanical discipline in the northern region of India. So these are the lab names. So just to show you an example how we can, at the bottom of each box, you can find a link. Click here to view the scope. By clicking that, a small window will be open. So there, if you click the certificate number, and this small window will be there, you can click the certificate to view the certificate, or click the scope of accreditation. You can see the scope of accreditation, which all parameter the lab is accredited for. So this is the scope of the lab. Here you can find what are the product they are accredited for. So it is chemical metals. So by that way you can find which our lab is accredited, whether they are accredited for the product which you are looking for and the test parameters. So through this means. And if you know the lab name, then you can enter the lab name and search. So while entering the lab name, the lab name should be exactly as per the what name mentioned in the accreditation certificate. Or if you know the lab ID, you can mention the TI and the 4-digit number and you can search this also. So this is a search mechanism available in the Enable website. Also under publication page, we go to Enable documents. So there all type of documents available, Enable's policy document, Enable procedure documents available. There is document Enable 100, this is general information brochure. So you can refer this document for understanding more about Enable accreditation process. All the process which I explained here is given in the Enable 100 brochure. And there is document Enable 120, it is about grouping of products. Then Enable, so lab which you're applying for accreditation can refer these documents. And we come to the third, at the last page of this document, there you can find the lab directory, like Enable 400. So lab can be searched through the search mechanism also under laboratory search or through lab directory. So Enable 400 is laboratory directory. So this directory will be updated once in a month. Every month it will be get updated. So lab can search there. You can use this directory also to verifying the lab accreditation status. So the directory of testing laboratory. So it will be there for each lab name, and their contact details will be given, and what is the discipline they are accredited for, and what is the accreditation period is given in the lab directory. So after getting accreditation during the accreditation cycle, if lab want to enhance their scope, so it is there is a separate provision is there for scope enhancement, and lab can include their some more parameter in the scope. For example, lab is having mechanical properties of metal, 10 tests in the scope. They want to add 5 more tests in the scope. So lab can apply for scope extension during the accreditation period. An assessment will be conducted to verify the competency of only those parameters, and accordingly, accreditation will be granted for the extended scope also. This is the contact detail of Enable. If you have any queries or doubt on Enable accreditation, you can write to us to info@enable.qcin.org, and you can refer Enable website also for the documents which are shown just before for getting more details on that. Thank you very much for your attention.
So, thank you very much, sir, for giving such a detailed and useful presentation. We would like to inform our members that if they have any queries or questions regarding the presentations, we would like to take them up one by one after the next presentation. So thank you, sir. So now we have a brief presentation on behalf of EPC India. On behalf of EPC India, we have a brief presentation about MAI scheme for reimbursement of expenses incurred towards statutory compliances for testing and certifications for exports. So, sir, just give me a second. I would like to share the screen first. Sir, please let me know if sir, my screen is not visible. Is visible. Sir, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, thank you. So, so myself, Mayank Krishna, I'm working as Senior Assistant Director in the Head Office cell based in New Delhi. I'm also looking after the processing of the applications for the MAI scheme for reimbursement of expenses towards statutory compliances. As you all know that EEPC is a nodal body under the Ministry of Commerce, which is working towards promotion of exports of engineering goods and representing over 13,000, around 12,500 members across the engineering verticals across India, from India. EPC has been assigned as a nodal body for processing the application for the engineering sector. So the scheme is basically intended to extend the financial support for the industry, for the manufacturers and exporter who are getting their products tested for acquiring the statutory compliances, such as some test product certifications and quality certifications in order to export. And the scheme intends to reimburse part payment, such as it reimburses up to 50% of the total cost incurred, up till the maximum ceiling of 2 crore per annum. So what do we understand by statutory compliances? Basically, the statutory compliances include the testing and certification charges of the engineering products, which is mandatory in certain countries, in any country, for exporting the product in that market. So what are the guidelines for this application? The reimbursement is valid for the testing and certification charges in respect of the testing done in India as well as abroad for export of engineering products. The ceiling of the ceiling of reimbursement for each individual exporter is maximum 2 crore per annum. The sharing charges is the reimbursement is up to the level of 50% of the total cost incurred, and the guidelines requires that the evidence of the payment in the form of the invoices and the invoices as well as the transactions done with the testing agencies have to be provided with the provided along with the application. The claim, it is under the guideline, it is mandated that the exporter must submit the application along with the documents to EPC India within 45 days of acquiring the product certificate. After that, EPC itself takes certain days. So 45 days, within 45 days, EPC is mandated to submit the same application to the ministry for further approvals. In order to facilitate the application, we have suggested that exporters submit maximum 5 tests per annum, but it would depend that it is not a mandatory clause, and we accept as many application. The member exporter is he can submit as many application depending upon the situation of the testing of the product. And the main important thing to note is that the testing application is relevant for only for the technical testing of the engineering products. Here is the brief of the list of necessary document that is required to be submitted. There is an annexure form that is a brief format of the application form that is to be submitted, which is to be supported by the other documents that includes the copy of the invoices that is provided by the testing agencies, the proof of the payments in the form of the transactions in the through bank statements or any other remittance advices, etc. The product certificates obtained, as well as the entire test reports also that has to be submitted attached with the product certificate. Along with this, the application requires the CS declaration from the chartered accountant that the total cost has been incurred by the member exporter toward acquiring that certification, and the TDS or the relevant tax obligations has been paid by the exporter to the government. So likewise, the relevant forms in the form of 15CA and CB or form 16A for TDS have to be submitted along with the documents. In addition to this, a declaration by the company needs to be submitted, declaring the turnover for the last 3 to 5 years. All the pages of the documents are required to be signed and stamped, and the copies, as I already said this. We suggest few points in order to make this application process easily. So we suggest that the documents, the guideline should be read carefully of the what we circulate through our member circular. The TDS deductions which is reflecting should match exactly as per the invoices, and all the proofs must be submitted for the TDS payment or for the tax payment, as well as the payment to the testing labs. Wherever relevant, additional documentary references shall be provided, which indicates that the required testing which has been done are required as per the statutory compliances. That is indicating that it is mandatory for exporting that product into that particular country. Because this is something that if there is any room for doubt, then we receive the query from the ministry to submit the clarification. So we always request that if there is any possibility, then please submit the relevant necessary references for the same. It is requested that the applications be submitted within 45 days within the deadlines. And one point is to be noted that the application, the scheme is not eligible for claiming the benefits of reimbursement for sample-based testing, which is for export, which is meant to export to a particular client. So as per the invoice or any kind of a documents, that should be clear that it is not a sample-based testing done, and it is only catering to the statutory compliance, such as we say that CE certification is mandatory for Europe, and ANSI or ANS certain standards for America and other countries. Such applications, such references are required to say that this is like a statutory compliance, and it is, and customer references are better avoided on any invoices, so that it should not indicate that this is a sample based testing for the particular client. In order to verify the authenticity of the documents, we also take some necessary background checks if required with the testing labs or with the agencies which are providing the invoices as well as the testing certificates. So what is the procedure? The procedure is that the member desirous of getting assistance under the scheme may fill the format and send it along the required documents detailed in Annexure 1, complete in all respect, addressed to EPC India head office in Kolkata, any regional office, or preferably HO cell in Delhi. On receipt of the documents, we will examine the same, and in case of any deficiency, we will seek the clarification for the documents. Thereafter, the application will submit the same to the ministry for further approvals. So in order to facilitate the application process, EPC charges a nominal fee of rupees 2,000 or 5% of the sanctioned amount. The procedure is the amount is disbursed to EPC, and then once the fee for EPC is paid, the EPC disburses the sanctioned amount to the member exporter. As we all know, the past year has been, we witnessed a lockdown due to the COVID pandemic, and due to which many exporters could not submit the application on time. They were facing many difficulties in correspondences and communications for getting their product tested. So the ministry has opened the window in the current year that the applications or testing applications which were undertaken last year for year 2021 and 22, the same applications are also getting accepted. However, previous to that year, that is 2020 and 21, the applications has been closed for now. So only applications for 2021 and 22 are currently being considered. So for any queries, you may write to our Executive Director, Mr. Suranjan Gupta. The email is given here. And thank you, everyone. Now we would like to take up any question. If members have any questions, they may please raise their hand so that we can take them up one by one. Thank you. So we think that we don't have any questions from the members. So now we would like to conclude our session. Sorry, I beg your pardon. We have two questions. So RG sir, can you please unmute yourself and raise your question? Thank you.
This is Guru Prasad, General Manager Marketing International from Electrons, Bangalore. In the last presentation, you mentioned about the certification claim which can be reimbursed the expenses. So there is a clause which you are subsequent in the last slide showed that tests conducted in the last year, 21, 22 are also eligible. What would be the document we need to present to show the delay? What kind of document? Because we have done a test and we have not got any additional benefits out of it. Is it possible for us to apply for that?
Sir, indeed, you can still submit the application. So
Okay.
if you can write it to us, I will leave my email ID on the chat box, and you can write
Okay.
it to us, and I'll
Okay.
share the detailed guidelines,
Right.
which will mention the required documents that would need to be submitted along with the application.
Okay.
In order to clarify the reason for the delay, we would request that you may please give a statement. I mean, just send a statement, that small statement, that it was due to the COVID, and because of the uh, difficulty in communication, it was you were not able to submit on time.
Right, right. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that would be sufficient.
Yeah. Second part of my, sorry, I'll just take a few minutes.
Yeah.
You said the annual limit is 2 crores, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if we submit the previous year claim,
Sir.
would it be counted for this year? Number one. Second is in the same category, if I apply for new products to be tested for the same purpose, would that be eligible, or is it that the category is one and then you can't apply in the same category of the product I'm talking about?
Sir, may I please seek your
Yeah.
clarification, that what do you
Please,
mean
please,
by
yeah.
clarification, sir? Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
category.
category is like we make a product which goes for the UL testing. The
Fine.
product name is the same for subsequent tests and different ratings or sizes. So if I get another category and the same product name but different ratings, I need to pay to the certifying agency the same test charges. Would that be eligible, or does it gets exempted out?
Sir, that should be eligible, as far as it is complying with the broader definition of getting the statutory compliances. The categorization is not actually.
Not a problem point.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay, I got it.
And
Yes.
the first question, sir, regarding the 2
Limit,
crore
yeah,
limit,
total, yeah.
is that it is actually for 1 year. So for each year, the maximum ceiling of reimbursement is 2 crore.
Okay, okay.
And for each testing expenditure for particular testing product certification, it is 50% is reimbursed up to the maximum ceiling of 2 crores per annum per exporter.
Okay, right. I got it. Thank you. I'll contact you. I'll send you a mail and then we can take it further.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now request Madam Indumati ji, please raise a question.
Good evening, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah. My question is, in your chart, you showed that 45 days from the test date, we have to submit the document.
Yes.
So per year, n number of application we can submit. So
yes.
at the time of submitting the application, we need to get the CA certification for each and every, or we can club it, sir.
We can actually. Sorry, can you please repeat the question, if you don't mind?
You mentioned that n number of application we can submit in per year.
Yes, that's right.
Once the test is completed, from the test date, within 45 days, we have to send the document to head office.
Yes, ma'am.
So in that certificate, the application should carry the CA certification for every application, sir.
Ma'am, for one application, a CA certification has to accompany. And that itself needs to declare the amount, that the total amount which is being submitted with the application is incurred with the testing lab, is paid to the testing lab, as it also needs to mention that the tax obligations has been fulfilled. I mean, the tax has been paid to the government. So each application has its own declaration by the certificate, by the CA.
Okay. If the certification party is the same testing company,
yeah.
Per month we are having more than 2 or 3 tests. So will you take the last date? Which one is the current date, or how you are taking, sir?
Madam, that is little, in order to facilitate that process, for the ease of reference, we club the test together. That can be, we can club the test together, that a particular number of tests has been undertaken. We mentioned the same in the cover letter while submitting to the ministry, that so and so number of tests has been undertaken, and for the same this application has been made. So if you are like undertaking 2 or 3 tests per month, so you can accordingly club the expenditure for all the 3 tests together in one application.
Okay.
And we can refer the last date of the certificate, the last test certificate date, for meeting the deadline.
Okay.
I hope
Okay,
that clears, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome, ma'am. Thank you. We hope that there is no more question. So we would now like to conclude the today's session. On behalf of EPC India, myself, Mayank Krishna, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our eminent speakers from NABL, Madam Malika Gope, Director NABL, and Mr. Ram Prasad, Joint Director NABL, for sparing the valuable time with us. We also thank our immediate past chairman, Mr. Mahesh Desai, for sparing his valuable time and extending his full support in organizing the session in a successful manner. We also extend our thanks to Madam Pallavi Saha, Senior Joint Director, EPC India, for her support in organizing this session. So at the end of the session, we would request if our members have any kind of a query, they may please write it to us. I'm just leaving our contact details in our chat box, and we would like to listen from them in the future. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.